having a hybrid in-person and online competition. They won't do a presentation as such, but we do announce the lifters that are competing in this session today. All of these lifters are from the men's 35 to 59 age group. In the 73 kilo category, we have Andre Castro in Western Australia. In the men's 81 kilo, we have Anurag Hill from Victoria. And a number of lifters in the 89 kilo division Australia, Trans from South Australia. Malcolm Wright from Queensland. Amandeep Singh will be competing from India today. Brandon Sharp, Brendan Sharp rider from Victoria. And also here in Queensland today we have Jessica Connor. We'll introduce our technical officials now prior to starting the event. All of our officials are at the venue at Commonwealth International Hotel in Cairns today. Referees will be watching the lifts on the projector above the play. As our centre today, we have Paul Finner. Our side referees are Leslie Moyle and Penny Campbell. Our marshals and Shannon Good is taking time for us today. To see himself today is Anurag Gill from Victoria. Remotely open with a 75 kilo snatch to get us started. He's got 1 minute. That's Anurag Gill from Victoria starting off today with 75 kilos, his open snatch, and the 1 minute clock is ticking. That's just about 30 seconds. Unfortunately, no lift. We have another attempt. Our lifters participating remotely today will have 2.5 minutes between their lifts and follow themselves, as opposed to the usual 2 minutes. This gives them some time to use their own barbells for those that are taking care of these things themselves, or some help from friends or family or their club members. Seconds on the clock to give Anurag another. He also has another 30 seconds if he chooses to take some more weight. Otherwise, he stays at 75 kilos that he attempted on his first lift. There's been some announcements for our remote lifters this competition, but it's been amazing to see everyone pulling together the resources they have to be able to compete. And a minute 30 on the clock for Anurag's second attempt. He will he'll have which he'll emailed out. As we're not able to have number and as a certainly looks like otherwise lifting. Unfortunately, I
Sorry.
electron put through the
Yeah, it's not. Okay.
into glass before final.
We've got to take it back down to the contact. Just request it.
Anurag has just over 30 seconds to commence this final lift. Does look at
Put the collar on, right? Okay. Buck it up this way.
how to advise us that. We lost that one behind him. He'll be back for the clean and jerks and ends his snatch attempts with 75 kilos. This takes us over to Andre Castro in Western Australia, who will be opening his snatch attempts with 78 kilos.
Can we just refresh this? I did already.
So the referees can get a good look at his opening attempt of 78 kilos.
I'm going to go and try that snatch again. Can I do that? I've got a long way.
Away just in time. 3 white lights for Andre Castro's first. Just like Anurag, he will now take the 1 kilogram automatic increment to 79 kilos and will have 2.5 minutes on the stage to advise via his electronic link if he's going to take some more weight. And he is going to go to 83 kilos. We've just been advised. This means the next lift will stay with him and the clock remains ticking with just over 2 minutes to go for Andre to take his next attempt. It's in Australia today. After Andre's completed his snatches, we'll move into what looks to be a very competitive 89 kilo division today, with all lifters starting within 5 kilos of each other. That's 1.5 minutes left on the clock for Andre. We'll have 2 lifters from Queensland competing in the 89 kilo division. And just under 1 minute to go for Andre. another good lift. Once again, Andre will initially take a 1 kilogram increment, but I'm sure we will get advice that he is going to put some more weight on the bar. And again, he will be following himself with this lift and will have 2.5 minutes to commence his final snatch attempt. And Andre is going to take quite a big jump to 92 kilos, which means we'll be switching lifters and we'll be moving over to Victoria with Brendan Sharp, who is taking 92 kilos for his opening snatch. And Brendan has decided to take more weight. So we will, in fact, go back to Andre in Western Australia, who will be up with his 92 kilo final snatch attempt. Because we went on to a new lifter and then returned, that means that the clock resets to 1 minute. So Andre now has about 45 seconds to commence this lift. And he has now declared a weight increase to 93 kilos, but it does appear that his team is well on top of that and the bar is ready for him to go at 93 kilos. Unfortunately, no lift from Andre, a very ambitious 10 kilo jump between attempts. So he'll finish with an 83 kilo snatch today. And this brings us to the Cairns platform today. First of our lifters in this division that will be lifting live from the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns, where our technical officials are based. There's a minute on the clock for Justin Connor, and the bar is loaded with 95 kilos for his opening attempt. And a solid start from Justin here in Cairns. We're now going to go over to India, where Amandeep Singh is going to take the same 95 kilo opening attempt for his snatch today. He's got just under a minute to go. His bar seems to be loaded, ready, and the stream is working. And here he is. And you can drop the bar. That was an easy opening attempt for Amandeep. Another lifter we have opening on 95 kilos in the snatch today is Kingston Tranvu, who's going to be lifting from South Australia. And Kingston is going to take quite a bit more weight and open on 101 kilos. So we'll go to Brendan Sharp in Victoria, who will be taking 96 attempts. Just remind the athletes that all weight changes should be made via the electronic link that you've been provided with. Our loaders are getting the bar ready for Justin Connor, who will likely be the next lifter. down. Another good lift. Brendan will take the 1 kilo automatic. Unfortunately, not a good lift for Justin Connor. The refs have seen a technical issue on that one, but he will have 2 minutes as he is competing from Cairns, where we have loaders on deck ready to reload the bar for another attempt at 98 kilos, after which we'll be going back to Victoria, where Brendan Sharp will be taking 99 kilos for his second attempt. So the bar is loaded, 1 minute and approximately 45 seconds for Justin Connor
Screen to start.
to prepare for his second attempt. And Justin is going to take another kilo, go to 99 kilos, which will give him a bit more rest because we'll be going back to Brendan Sharp in Victoria for his 99 kilo second attempt. This means Brendan has a minute on the clock to take his second snatch attempt. And Brendan is going to take some more weight. So we're bringing it back to Justin in Cairns now. He'll have another attempt at 99 kilos. This means he now has a minute on the clock to take that attempt.
Let's go. Push.
And it was a good fight from Brendan, but unfortunately that's a no lift by majority decision from the referees. He'll be finishing on 95 kilos for his snatch today, but we'll see him back for the clean and jerk. Next up, we're moving to a new lifter, Malcolm Wright. However, we're staying on the, again, faster platform at the Cairns Pullman International Hotel. And in fact, we aren't. We'll be going back to Brendan Sharp as Malcolm has decided to take some more weight. So we'll be back in Victoria with Brendan with a 100 kilo second snatch attempt. Refs, just
It's good.
and that was a good lift for Brendan Sharp with 100 kilos. This means we will be moving on to Kingston Tranvu in South Australia. Definitely going to be a competitive one this evening. He's taking 101 kilos for his opening lift. And he's going to take some more weight. So at this stage, we will be returning to Brendan Sharp in Victoria, who has taken the automatic 1 kilo increment, but I'm sure we will hear something from him shortly. He has 1 minute on the clock and 30 seconds to let us know. Take 103 kilos, and then we will go back to Malcolm Wright, who will open with 103 kilos from Cairns. And a good lift for Malcolm on 103 kilos, which means we go back to Brendan Sharp in Victoria for his third attempt at this stage, provided he doesn't take any more weight. And he is going to take more weight. He's going to go to 104 kilos, which means the call will go back to Kingston Tranvu in South Australia, who is elected to open on 104 kilos. He has
Come on, Kingston. Hold on!
That means the call goes back to Malcolm Wright in Queensland at this stage, but I'm sure he'll be taking some more weight given that that is currently just the automatic increment, and he's taking another few kilos. So we will go back to Brendan Sharp if he chooses to take the 104 kilos he is currently elected. And it looks like he's going to get straight into this one. Unfortunately, no lift for Brendan. He finishes on a 100 kilo snatch today. And that takes us back to Amandeep Singh in India. Amandeep has 105 kilos for his second snatch attempt. And there's about 50 seconds on the clock for Amandeep. Kingston Tranvu in South Australia, you may be next. And another good lift for Amandeep. Kingston Tranvu in South Australia will be taking 106 kilos for his second attempt. And as suspected, he is elected to move up, and that will take us to, there's a few on 108 at the moment. It's becoming quite the fight already. We'll be going to Malcolm Wright in Queensland. Amandeep is elected to also take 108 kilos, so this will give us 3 lifters at this stage, all taking 108 kilos for their next lifts. Unfortunately, no lift by majority decision for Malcolm on his second attempt, but he does have one final attempt. In the meantime, we'll go to Kingston Tranboo in South Australia. Same weight for Kingston, 108 kilos. Has about 5 seconds.
Come on.
Sting will follow. For Kingston. Amandeep, this brings us back to you in India. 108 kilos for his final snatch attempt. He's got 50 seconds to commence this attempt. And that's a good lift for Amandeep. 3 for 3 for Amandeep today. Moving back to Queensland, Malcolm Wright is going to take 109 kilos for his final snatch attempt, which is the same amount that Kingston currently has elected in South Australia. "45 seconds on the clock for Malcolm. And it's white lights across the board from the referees for that lift for Malcolm. 109 kilos, his best snatch for today. Kingston Tranboo is up next in South Australia, currently with 109 kilos as his elected final snatch attempt. Although I would not be surprised if we see a change to that come up. And he's going to go to 110 kilos now for his final snatch attempt.
Come on. Go, Kingston.
Come on.
Hold it.
Means Kingston finishes up with 108 kilos in the snatch today. This means we'll be moving into the clean and jerk with only 9 kilos between the 5 lifters in this division. Whilst we didn't take the usual 10-minute break between the presentation and the first snatch, we will be taking a 10-minute break between the lifts to allow the lifters to warm up, and we'll be back in 9 minutes and 50 seconds for the clean and jerk. Finishing off the clean and jerk for the 15th session of the 2021 Australian, Oceania and Commonwealth Masters Championships. Broadcast from the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns, Far North Queensland, but with participants from multiple locations, not just over Australia, but the world, doing a truly admirable job of participating from their home states and countries in a varied mix of arrangements. And that's the end of the 10-minute break. Anurag has 1 minute on the clock to start his 85 kilo clean and jerk opening attempt. That's a good opening lift for Anurag, who unfortunately seemed to suffer from some technological issues in the snatch, but seems to be off to a much more positive start in his clean and jerk. At this stage, he'll be following himself with 86 kilos, which means there will be 2.5 minutes on the clock for him to reload that bar and take that attempt. If he wishes to take more weight for his second clean and jerk attempt, otherwise he will be taking the automatic 1 kilo increment and lifting 86 kilos. And Anurag has now let us know that he's going to take 90 kilos for his second attempt, just in the nick of time. Got some assistance loading up that bar, and he has just over a minute to start the attempt.
That's my money.
Am I ruining it? And it's a good lift by majority down for Anurag. Currently, he will be following himself with 91 kilos, unless he advises within the next minute that he's going to take some more weight, which he now has, and will be going to 95 kilos for his final clean and jerk attempt. This means that he will still be following himself with 2 minutes and about 10 seconds to prepare for that final lift, after which we will be heading to Western Australia, where Andre Castro will be taking 100 kilos for his first clean and jerk attempt. We'll have one more session in the competition this weekend. Following this one, the men's 35 to 39, 96 kilo and up divisions, which will round out a massive 3-day competition in the Australian and Oceania and Commonwealth Masters Championships, broadcast from here in Cairns, far north Queensland. Anurag has just under a minute remaining for his final lift of the competition. Unfortunately, no lift for Anurag. I suspect he knew that that was going to be the outcome. I think the referees might have seen a little bit of an issue with his elbows in that jerk. He'll finish today with a 165 kilo total. We'll be going over to WA now for Andre Castro, who will be taking his opening 100 kilo clean and jerk attempt. With just under a minute remaining on the clock. And a good opening attempt for Andre. He'll take the 1 kilogram increment for the time being, but I don't think he'll be holding on to that one for too long. And he's going to take an 8 kilo jump and will take 108 kilos for his second attempt. He will still be following himself, which means he has just under 2.5 minutes on the clock to get that bar loaded, ready to go and ready to take that attempt. While we give him time to prepare, a big thank you to Jim Mildren, who has been instrumental in allowing this competition to go ahead this weekend. Cairns local, and all of the other volunteers that have helped out at the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns for the last 3 days for a huge 15 sessions of lifting. Just under 1 minute and 30 seconds now, which means the time has expired for Andre to advise of any further weight increases. So he will be taking that 108 kilo second attempt. and into the final minute for Andre. Unfortunately, couldn't quite stand that cleanup. He'll have that same 2.5 minute rest and will get a further attempt at the 108 kilo clean and jerk. Following which we'll go into the 89 kilo men's attempts. Currently only separated by 8 kilos between all 5. And 25 seconds to put in any weight changes for Andre, which has just come through. Andre has elected to take 120 kilos for his final clean and jerk attempt, which means we'll be moving right into those 89 kilo. Brendan has moved up to 120 kilos. The call will still remain with him, opening his clean and jerk attempts from Victoria. Brendan has elected to take another kilo for that first attempt, which means we move on to Malcolm Bright for only a brief moment before returning to Andre Castro in WA, as Malcolm has also elected to take more weight. So that's 120 kilos and a minute on the clock for Andre Castro in WA.
Come on. Everything up, man. Let's go. Let's go.
Come on.
Yes, go. Come on, back. Here we go.
A very, very gutsy attempt from Andre, but unfortunately no lift for him on that. He finishes with a 183 kilo total today. This takes us back to Brendan Sharp in Victoria, who at this stage will be opening his clean and jerk attempts with 121 kilos.
Okay. No.
And it's a good lift by majority for Brendan with 121 kilos. He will, at this stage, get the 1 kilo automatic increment. However, Amandeep Singh in India has also elected 122 kilos for his opening attempt. So we'll be moving over to India, and he has a minute on the clock for his opening clean and jerk attempt. Brendan Sharp will follow, subject to any indication that he's going to take some more weight. So I suspect Malcolm Wright should be ready to be next. And it's a good lift, the second lifter from this division to have a total on the board Over to Malcolm Wright, who'll be lifting from Cairns in Queensland with 123 kilos. Malcolm has 50 seconds on the clock. However, he's going to take some more weight. He's going to go to 126. This would ordinarily take us back to Mandeep, who appears to be in the process of declaring more weight. Which means our next lifter will be Kingston Tranvu in South Australia, who's opening his clean and jerk attempts with 125 kilos. And they're pushing each other this evening. He's going to take some more weight. Brings us back to Brendan Shah with 125 kilos for his second attempt. 1 minute on the clock for Brendan. Unfortunately, no lift from Brendan. He'll have 2.5 minutes on the clock, and a minute of that he will be able to decide if he's going to stick with that 125 kilos or take some more weight. Following Brendan, at this stage, we'll be heading back to Queensland for Malcolm Wright's opening attempt, which is currently elected as 126 kilos. Two minutes on the clock for Brendan's final lift of the day. And just as that time elapses, Brendan's going to take another kilo. This brings us to Malcolm Wright, lifting from Queensland. He'll be taking 126 kilos as his opening attempt. Following Malcolm, we'll be returning to Brendan in Victoria. He'll also be taking 126 kilos for his final lift of the day.
Up. Come in. Punch it. Hold it.
Good opening attempt for Malcolm with 126 kilos. That puts him in first place in this division at this stage. But it is an incredibly tight session today, so that is certainly subject to change. So we're back with Brendan Sharp in Victoria for his final attempt at 126 kilos. A better attempt for Brendan this time, but unfortunately still no lift. He'll be finishing with a total of 221 kilos today. We'll now be moving to South Australia, where Kingston Tranvu will take his first clean and jerk attempt of 128 kilos. At this stage, Malcolm Wright in Queensland will follow. Kingston has taken more weight. This means we'll be going to Mandeep Singh in India for his second attempt with 129 kilos. "50 seconds on the clock for Mandeep. Justin Connor in Queensland will follow. Unfortunately, no time left for Mandeep to make any changes. He will be taking that 129 kilo clean and jerk that has been elected. And good left for Mandeep, got right in there and got that one done. Justin Connor will be taking his first clean and jerk attempt of 130 kilos, live from here at the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns. Our volunteer loaders just fixing up that bar, adding a little bit more weight as there have been many weight changes today. This division having our loaders working hard. Bar is loaded and a minute on the clock for Justin.
It's set.
Solid opening lift for Justin. The call remains with Justin at this stage with the automatic increment. However, I don't think we'll have him up next for too long. Malcolm Wright, you may be next with 132 kilos. But at this stage, the call does remain with Justin and the bar is loaded to 131 kilos. Justin's going to go to 134 kilos for his second attempt, which brings the call to Malcolm with 132 kilos. Unfortunately, that's no lift for Malcolm. He does have a third attempt. And is still currently in first place for the Australian and Oceania championships in this division. Once the loaders have that bar sorted, he'll have 2 minutes on the clock, after which we'll be heading to South Australia for Kingston Tranvu's opening clean and jerk. While we give Malcolm some time to recoup, I think for those listening at home, a big thank you is in order to all of the friends and family and club members that have assisted our lifters over the weekend and allowed them to keep competing, keep being involved despite the very unusual circumstances of the last couple of years.
Practice.
The clock is stopped while the loaders just give the bar and the platform a clean down. Doing an excellent job making sure the platform and the bar are pristine for these pretty impressive lifts from the 89 kilo men's division this evening. And on that note, a thank you to again Faster for sponsoring this event and the equipment. All right. Clock has restarted with 1 minute and 40 seconds for Malcolm's final clean and jerk attempt.
Come on. Go, man. Go, man. Get out there. Come on. Punch.
Very impressive comeback for Malcolm, but unfortunately didn't quite nail that jerk and it's a no lift. He finishes today with an impressive total of 235 kilos. The call now goes to Kingston Tranvu in South Australia, who will be taking 133 kilos for his opening attempt.
Come on, Kingston. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Unfortunately, couldn't quite keep that one steady, which means it's a no lift for Kingston Tranvu's opening attempt, but he'll have another attempt at that 133 kilos. He'll get 2.5 minutes to reset and reattempt that lift. Kingston's going to take some more weight. That does not change the call at this stage. nor does it change the time remaining. So he'll have 1 minute and 43 seconds to attempt a second clean and jerk attempt at 134 kilos. Following Kingston, we'll be back with Mandeep Singh in India for his final attempt.
Go, Kingston. Come on. You got it. Come on.
And unfortunately, we were going to Mandeep Singh in India, but he has decided to take more weight, which means the call will be back on Kingston. And as the clock hadn't started quite yet, that means he'll have 2.5 minutes to take this attempt again. Kingston's going to need to get a good lift on this final one to get a total on the board today. And he's going to take some more weight and get a little bit more rest for this last attempt, as the call will now go to Mandeep Singh in India. He'll be taking 135 kilos for his final clean and jerk attempt, and he has 1 minute on the clock. Unfortunately, lost that one behind him. It was a 13-kilo jump from his opening attempt and 6 kilos from his successful 129-kilo clean and jerk. He'll finish with a 237-kilo total today. This brings us back to Kingston Tranvu, who is now going to take 136 kilos in his final clean and jerk attempt and hopefully get a total on the board today. He's got just under a minute on the clock for this attempt.
Come on, Kingston. Come on. Come on, Kingston. Come on.
Justin Connor will be back with you in Queensland right after Kingston.
Let's go.
Some very easy cleans for Kingston today, but unfortunately just couldn't quite get there with his jerk. He'll now be finishing off the session today in Queensland from the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns, Far North Queensland. Justin Connor has 2 more clean and jerk attempts. At this stage, 141 kilos has been elected. Bar is loaded and a minute is on the clock for Justin Connor and the second last lift of the session.
Come on. Let's go. Come on. Come on. Come on. Ha! What do you want? Go. Come on. Good start. Get up. Fix that. Don't waste it. Push. Oh, good man. Oh,
Very close, but lost that one just off the front of the platform here. Luckily, it's a very spacious ballroom that we are currently occupying in the Pullman International Hotel in Cairns. He's going to get one final attempt at this stage, remaining on 141 kilos with 2 minutes. The initial 30 seconds of that 2 minutes has now passed, which means Justin is going to take the 141 kilos currently on the bar. After this lift, we'll be taking a break until 7 p.m. Australian Eastern Time, where we will be having our final session of the competition.
come on. All right, yeah. Come on, mate. Come on. All right, come on. There you go. That's it. Get up! Get that, on balance. Right. Wrong foot.
And unfortunately, no lift for Justin, who will still be finishing with a 225 kilo total today. While we aren't able to have a physical presentation, we will now call the results from the last session. In the men's 73 kilo division, 35 to 39 years, first place in the 2021 Commonwealth Masters Championship is Andre Castro from Western Australia.
Happy birthday, Mum.
In the men's 81 kilo division, 35 to 39 years old, from Victoria, Anurag Gill, with a total of 165 kilos. And in the very competitive 89 kilo division today, for the Commonwealth Masters Championships, in third place, Justin Connor from Queensland with 225 kilos. In second place, from Queensland, Malcolm Wright with 235 kilos. And in first place from India, Amandeep Singh with a total of 237 kilos. In the Oceania and Australian Masters Championships, the results are the same. In third place, Brendan Sharp from Victoria with 221 kilos. From Queensland, Justin Connor with 225 kilos. And in first place, Malcolm Wright from Queensland with 235 kilos. Thank you, lifters. Thank you, volunteers. And thank you, viewers. We will be taking a break until 7 p.m. when we'll return with the men's 35 to 39, 96, 102, 109 and 109 kilos plus categories.